If I asked you to sit down on the floor right now and then stand back up without using your hands, without holding a table, without rocking yourself forward 3 times just to get the momentum going, could you do it? Take a second. Really picture it. Floor, no chair, no armrest. Just you, your legs, and gravity. If you hesitated, if some part of you just quietly panicked at the thought, I want you to know 2 things. First, you are not alone. Most people over 65 in the Western world cannot do this simple movement anymore. Not because they're getting old, not because their body is wearing out, but because of something far more fixable than anyone has ever told them. Second, there is a small island in Japan where people in their 90s do this movement, sitting down to the floor and standing back up 5, 6, sometimes 10 times a day, without thinking about it, without pain, without help. That island is Okinawa, and what those elders are doing, almost by accident, is one of the most powerful leg-strengthening habits ever studied, and it costs nothing, takes no equipment, and takes less than 2 minutes a day. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what this sitting trick is, why doctors who study aging populations consider it one of the strongest predictors of how long and how well a person will live. And I'm going to walk you through, step by step, how to bring it into your own life safely, starting today, no matter what your current mobility looks like. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you isn't a stretch, and it isn't a gimmick. It's something researchers have quietly been measuring for almost 2 decades. And once you see the data, you'll understand why I call it an instant leg strength trick, because unlike most exercise advice, this one starts working on your body from the very first time you do it correctly. Before we go further, let me be clear about who I'm talking to. This video is for you if you've noticed that standing up from the couch takes a little grunt now. If you've started using the armrest of a chair without even realizing you're doing it. If getting up off the floor, say after gardening or playing with a grandchild, feels like a small expedition rather than something automatic. Maybe you've also been told to just walk more for your leg strength, and you have been walking, but your legs still feel weaker than they used to. Walking is wonderful for your heart and your mood, but walking alone does not fully challenge the deep stabilizing muscles around your hips, knees, and ankles the way this next movement does. And a quick note, as always, I'm not a substitute for your own doctor. Nothing in this video is a diagnosis or a prescription. If you have a knee replacement, a hip replacement, severe arthritis, vertigo, or any balance condition, please talk to your physician or physical therapist before trying anything demonstrated here. What I'm sharing is educational information based on published research and traditional movement patterns. Think of me as the friend who read all the studies so you don't have to, and who's going to translate them into something simple you can actually use. Now let's talk about Okinawa. Okinawa is a small chain of islands in southern Japan, and for decades it has fascinated longevity researchers for one strange reason. It has one of the highest concentrations of people living past 100 years old anywhere on Earth. Researchers have a name for regions like this. They call them blue zones. Now, when people talk about blue zones, they usually talk about diet. Fish, seaweed, purple sweet potatoes, bitter melon. And yes, diet matters. We've covered that on this channel before. But there's a second Okinawan habit that gets far less attention, and it might matter just as much: the way Okinawan elders sit. In traditional Okinawan homes, there is often very little Western-style furniture. No high dining chairs, no raised sofas. Instead, people sit on cushions on the floor, at low tables, for meals, for conversation, for rest. Which means that every single time an Okinawan elder wants to eat dinner, or greet a guest, or simply rest their legs, they have to lower themselves all the way down to the floor. And every single time they want to get up again, to answer the door, to check on something in the kitchen, to go to bed, they have to push themselves all the way back up. Researchers estimate that a typical floor-sitting elder in Okinawa performs this full sit-to-floor, floor-to-stand cycle somewhere between 30 and 60 times a day. Compare that to someone in a typical Western home sitting in a raised chair or a recliner who might get up and down from a seated position a similar number of times, but the seat is already at hip height. There is no deep bend. There is no real work for the thigh muscles, the glutes, or the ankles. The chair does almost all the work. That difference, repeated full-range lowering and rising dozens of times a day for decades, is what some researchers believe quietly builds and preserves leg strength in Okinawan elders long after their Western counterparts have lost it. There's actually a formal way scientists have started measuring this exact ability, and it has a name you may not have heard before: the sitting rising test. In 2012, a Brazilian physician named Dr. Claudio Gil Araujo published a study that quietly shook the world of aging research. He and his team studied more than 2,000 adults between the ages of 51 and 80. He asked each person to do one simple thing: sit down on the floor from a standing position and then stand back up, using as little support from their hands, knees, or furniture as possible. Each time a person used a hand, a knee, or a piece of furniture for support, points were deducted from a perfect score of 10. Then his team tracked these same people for years afterward. What they found was remarkable. People who scored low on this simple floor sit-to-stand test, meaning they needed a lot of support to get up and down, had a dramatically higher risk of dying in the following years compared to people who could do it smoothly, unsupported. In fact, for every point lost on that 10-point scale, the risk of death from any cause during the study period rose by over 20%. Let that sink in for a moment. Not a complex blood test, not an MRI, not a genetic panel, a simple, low-cost movement, "Can you get down to the floor and back up without help?" turned out to be one of the strongest predictors of longevity that researchers had ever measured in an everyday population. Why would something so simple carry so much information about a person's future? Because getting down to the floor and back up again isn't really one movement. It's a coordinated performance test involving almost every major muscle group your legs have. Your quadriceps, at the front of your thigh, control the descent so you don't just collapse. Your glutes, the largest muscles in your body, generate the power to push you back up. Your calves and ankles constantly make tiny adjustments to keep you balanced the entire time. Your core stabilizes your spine so you don't tip forward or backward. And your brain and inner ear are working in the background too, coordinating balance signals in real time. When any one of these systems weakens, even a little, your body compensates by using your hands or rocking for momentum or avoiding the floor altogether. Over months and years, if you simply stop challenging these systems, they weaken further in a slow spiral. Not because you're aging, because you stopped asking your body to do the thing that keeps those systems strong. This is where the Okinawan habit becomes so interesting. Their culture never gave those systems permission to go quiet. Elders there are still, unintentionally, running this exact test on their bodies dozens of times a day, every single day, for their entire lives. It's not a workout to them, it's just dinner. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Carol, because her story is one that so many of you watching will recognize. Carol was 67 years old when her daughter noticed something small. They were visiting a local flea market, and Carol dropped her scarf. Instead of simply crouching down to pick it up the way she used to, Carol walked slowly over to a bench, sat down carefully, and asked her daughter to grab the scarf for her. Her daughter didn't think much of it in the moment. But over the following months, she started noticing a pattern. The lower shelf at the grocery store always skipped. The elevator, chosen over 2 flights of stairs, just to be safe. Both hands gripping the arms of her recliner every single time she stood up. None of this happened overnight. It crept in slowly, the way most strength loss does, so slowly that Carol herself hadn't fully noticed it. She still walked her usual half-mile most mornings. She felt, by her own account, pretty healthy. But walking on flat, even ground and getting up and down from a low surface use almost entirely different muscle patterns. Carol's walking hadn't declined much at all. Her ability to lower herself and rise back up had quietly eroded for years, unchallenged, because her home, like most modern homes, never once asked those muscles to work. When Carol finally mentioned to her physical therapist that she'd stopped sitting on the floor entirely, even to play with my grandson, her therapist introduced her to a modified version of exactly the movement pattern we're about to walk through in this video. A supported, gradual, floor-to-stand practice done safely a few times a day. Carol didn't transform overnight. Nobody does. But within about 6 weeks of consistent, gentle practice, she told her daughter something that stuck with her. "I picked up his toy off the floor today. I didn't even think about it until after I'd already done it. That's the goal, not a dramatic before and after. Just quietly getting your body back, the automatic, unthinking ability to move through your own world without hesitation." Here's something most people don't know about aging muscle. After about age 60, if a major muscle group goes unused, it doesn't just get a little weaker. It can begin actively shrinking, a process researchers call sarcopenia. Studies estimate that without resistance activity, adults can lose somewhere between 3% and 8% of their muscle mass per decade after 30, and that rate accelerates noticeably after 60. The muscles hit hardest by this process tend to be the very ones involved in sitting down and standing back up. The quadriceps and the glutes. These are large, powerful muscle groups, but they are also use it or lose it muscles more than almost any other in the body. Unlike your heart muscle, which works continuously whether you exercise or not, your leg muscles only get stronger and stay strong when you actually ask them to bear a deep, full-range load on a regular basis. This is exactly what a normal Western chair-based lifestyle doesn't provide. Chairs, car seats, toilet seats, sofas, nearly every seat in a modern home is designed to minimize the depth of your squat and the effort of standing. It's designed for comfort and convenience. But comfort, repeated every single day for decades, quietly removes the exact stimulus your thigh and hip muscles need to stay strong. Some geriatric researchers have even started calling excessive high seat use a hidden driver of frailty in aging populations, not because sitting itself is dangerous, but because always sitting high removes one of the few remaining daily opportunities most people have to load their legs through a full range of motion. The floor-sitting habit found across parts of Japan doesn't remove that stimulus. It restores it again and again throughout an ordinary day, without anyone thinking of it as exercise at all. Now let's get into exactly how you can bring this into your own life, safely, gradually, and adjusted to wherever your body currently is. I want to walk you through 4 stages, from easiest to most advanced. Please start at the stage that matches your current ability. There is no shame in starting at stage 1. Carol, from the story I just told you, started at stage 1, and so should most people watching this who haven't done a deep floor-to-stand movement in years. Stage 1, the supported chair descent. Stand in front of a sturdy chair with arms, the kind you can safely hold onto. Facing away from the chair, slowly lower yourself down, using the armrests for as much support as you need until you're fully seated. Pause. Then, using the armrests again, push yourself back up to standing. This sounds almost too simple to matter, but the goal here is to slowly reduce, over days and weeks, how much support you use. First 2 hands, then 1 hand, then just fingertips for balance, then eventually no hands at all, just for the chair height movement. This rebuilds confidence and the basic movement pattern before we ask more of your legs. Do this 5 to 10 times, once or twice a day. Stage 2, the low stool transition. Once stage 1 feels easy and controlled, move to a slightly lower, sturdy stool or the edge of a low ottoman, something roughly at knee height, lower than a standard chair. Repeat the same lowering and rising pattern, again using support nearby if needed, a wall, a countertop, a sturdy piece of furniture within reach, but try not to lean fully on it. Just use it as a light safety net. Your quadriceps and glutes begin working through a slightly greater range of motion here, closer to what a true floor transition requires, while still giving you a safety margin. Stage 3, the kneeling bridge. Stage 3 introduces the traditional Japanese seiza, kneeling position, as a stepping stone toward the floor. From standing, holding onto a stable support like a countertop or sturdy chair, lower one knee to a cushion or folded towel on the floor, then the other, coming into a kneeling position. Pause here. Then reverse the movement, bring one foot forward, push through that leg, and rise back to standing, using your hand support as needed. Many physical therapists actually teach the floor-to-stand movement to older adults this way because the half-kneeling transition breaks a big, intimidating movement into 2 smaller, more manageable ones. Stage 4, the full floor, sit to stand. Only once stage 3 feels smooth and controlled should you attempt lowering all the way to a full seated position on the floor and back up, ideally near a wall or sturdy furniture for safety, at least at first. This is the complete traditional movement, the one Okinawan elders perform, almost without thinking, many times over the course of an ordinary day. You do not need to reach stage 4 to benefit enormously from this practice. Many people will build significant leg strength and confidence simply by consistently practicing stage 1 or stage 2. The goal is not to prove anything to anyone. The goal is to give your legs consistent, gentle work through a fuller range of motion than a high chair ever asks of them, and to do it often enough that your body remembers how. A simple rule of thumb many physical therapists recommend. Pick the stage that feels like a 6 or 7 out of 10 in difficulty. Challenging, but controlled and safe, not a 9 or 10. If any stage causes sharp pain, dizziness, or genuine instability, stop and consult your physician or physical therapist before continuing. I called this an instant leg strength trick earlier, and I want to explain exactly what I meant by that because I don't want to oversell anything to you. That doesn't mean you'll suddenly be able to sprint up a hill after doing this just once. What I mean is something more specific, and it's actually backed by exercise science. The very first time you perform a full, controlled range of motion movement like a supported squat or floor transition, you are immediately recruiting muscle fibers, particularly in the glutes and quadriceps, that a high chair lifestyle simply never asks you to use. Researchers who study neuromuscular activation have found that deep range movements activate a noticeably higher percentage of muscle fibers, especially in the glutes, compared to shallow, partial range movements like standing from a normal chair. In simple terms, the first time you do this movement correctly, you're not just getting a small workout. You're immediately re-establishing a nerve-to-muscle connection and firing pattern that may have gone quiet, sometimes for years. That's the instant part. The strength-building, real, measurable muscle growth comes with consistency over the following weeks. But the reactivation of that movement pattern, that waking up of dormant muscle fibers, begins from session 1. This matches something Okinawan elders demonstrate without ever calling it exercise. Consistency, done in small, repeated doses throughout an ordinary day, compounds into remarkable long-term strength and mobility, without ever needing a gym, a machine, or a single dollar spent on equipment. Before we finish, I want to give you a simple, honest way to check in with your own legs right now, today. This is not a medical test, and it's not meant to frighten you. It's meant to give you a starting point so that a few weeks from now, you can measure your own progress. Ask yourself these 5 questions. Number 1, can you rise from a standard chair without using your hands or arms at all? Number 2, if you drop something on the floor, is your instinct to bend and pick it up or to find another way to retrieve it without lowering yourself? Number 3, can you get down onto the floor for any reason? Playing with a grandchild, gardening, picking something up, and get back up again without needing someone's help or a long pause to gather yourself? Number 4, when you climb a flight of stairs, do your thighs feel noticeably more tired than they used to a few years ago? Number 5, do you find yourself avoiding low seating altogether, low sofas, low chairs, the back seat of certain cars, because getting back up feels like too much effort? If you answered no, or I avoid it, to 2 or more of these, please don't panic. This is genuinely common. And more importantly, it is one of the most reversible things we've discussed on this channel. Unlike some age-related changes, muscle strength responds remarkably well to steady, patient effort at any age, including your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Multiple studies on resistance training in older adults, some involving participants in their 90s, have shown meaningful strength gains within just 8 to 12 weeks of consistent practice. Write down your answers today. Come back to these same 5 questions in 1 month, after practicing your chosen stage a few times a day, and see what's changed. I want to be honest with you about something important. This movement pattern is powerful, but it is not something to rush. If you have significant knee arthritis, a hip or knee replacement, osteoporosis with a history of fractures, significant balance issues, or any condition affecting your inner ear or blood pressure regulation, please have a conversation with your doctor or a physical therapist before attempting stage 3 or stage 4. They may recommend modifications specific to your situation or a supervised setting for your first attempts. Also, and this matters just as much, please resist the urge to compare your progress to anyone else's, including the Okinawan elders we've talked about today. They built this capacity over an entire lifetime of daily practice, starting in childhood. You are not behind. You are simply starting or restarting a practice that your body remembers how to do, even if it's been dormant for a while. Every single stage 1 repetition you do is meaningful. It's rebuilding a connection between your brain and your muscles that pays off for the rest of your life, for your independence, for your confidence, and for your ability to keep doing the things and being with the people you love on your own 2 feet. So here's what I'd love for you to do after watching this video. Pick your starting stage honestly, without ego. If that's stage 1, holding the arms of your chair, that is exactly the right place to start. Practice it once or twice today, just once or twice. Not a marathon, not a program, just a beginning. Then come back to this channel in a few weeks and let me know in the comments how it's going. I read every single comment and I want to know, which stage did you start at? Has anything changed? Even something small, like picking something up off the floor without thinking about it? If this video helped you see your own legs and your own future mobility a little differently today, please consider subscribing to Dr. Lumiva. Every week, we translate research like this. the kind normally locked away in medical journals, into simple, safe, practical steps you can use starting today, no matter your age or your current fitness level. And if you know someone, a parent, a spouse, a friend, who has quietly started avoiding the floor, avoiding low seats, avoiding the things that used to be easy, please share this video with them. Sometimes the most caring thing we can do for the people we love is hand them a simple, safe way to feel strong in their own body again. Take care of those legs. They've carried you this far. Let's make sure they can carry you for many, many years still to come. I'll see you in the next video.